So if you would all please rise and join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jonathan, I'm sorry, do we not have minutes to approve from the last meeting?
Not tonight. Not tonight.
Not tonight? Okay, great, thank you, sorry. Habits die hard. Okay, the first, next item on our agenda is item 5, Superintendents Presentations. Jonathan, I'll turn over to you.
Thank you. So I'm excited tonight, and it's great to have a big crowd here, so welcome everyone. We're excited that you're here. Our first superintendent presentation, I'm going to turn it over and invite Mr. Dodd, our building principal here at William Mason High School, to introduce some of the things that we're going to be celebrating tonight, and that would be some of our students' great accomplishments. So, Mr. Dodd, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Cooper. Well, Dr. Cooper and I last night, we were at senior awards over at the middle school for our high school seniors. And we talked about two things about tonight. One, how amazing it is that we have students who can get perfect scores on the ACT. So when you think about it, not only in the country, but in the world, it's quite a feat to get a perfect score in the ACT. I don't know what the percentage is or the numbers are, the statistics, but it's impressive. The other thing we talked about was, while it's great to get that score, we know that our kids here are more than just that score. The score says something, but it doesn't define them. The score says, yes, they did very well on that test, but what defines them and our students here at Mason is their character, their leadership, their perseverance, their family life, what they do at home. And so when we talked about that, I said, yes, I'd be happy to come and present the awards. But two things, congratulations and thank you. Congratulations on that score, because it's impressive. I mean, I think I would have to take both my ACT scores, combine them to get 36, I'm pretty sure. In fact, I know I would.
Right.
May not even get there.
Yeah.
But thank you for being who you are, for having that character, the leadership. I tell Dr. Cooper all the time, I'll sit back and watch school and watch students pick up trash or open the door for people or help another classmate out or say thank you. Those are the type of people that are in this room. That's what defines you. That's what will define you in life. Not the score, which again is a great thing, but your character and your leadership and the things you are that make you the great person that you are and make up our community and our school. So again, thank you and congratulations. We'll start presenting the certificates now.
And so if each student, when you see your name on the slide, and if you're kind of in the beginning of the alphabet, you may start to head this way. We'd love for you to come to the podium and just say your name and your favorite Mason moment.
Okay, I'm Ira Abid, and my favorite Mason moment was just, honestly, just every day spending time with my friends and enjoying that, so.
We have several students who had other commitments tonight, so just.
My name is Hamza Asghar, and my Mason moment was hosting a basketball tournament with the Muslim Student Association.
My name is Caroline Bishop, and my favorite Mason moment was getting to help out with 8th grade tours as a SIB.
My name's Tim Brewer, and my favorite Mason moment's been a series of moments. It's been the time I've gotten to spend with the band, marching in the band, and playing in the concert bands, and all the relationships I made there.
Hello, I'm Michelle Chen, and my Mason moment was being able to have our Science Olympiad team all together after a year of being online.
I'm Samvit Das, and my Mason moment was winning Science Olympiad Nationals last year with the rest of my team.
I'm Mahan Dada, and my Mason moment is running the 4x4 here at the Mason JV Boys Track Meet.
It's like getaway speed.
Bobby, remind me again, how many in total students did we have? Did we have a count?
It was 27.
27, okay. I thought we mentioned, but I wasn't certain.
My name's Adi Jangid, and my favorite Mason moment was being able to come back in person with everyone this year.
My name is Michelle Lee, and my favorite Mason moment has been running Chords for Community, which is this music club that my friend and I started.
Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Lua, and my favorite Mason moment was the homecoming pep rally this year.
Well, I'm Noah Samel, and my Mason moment was throwing a no-hitter at Prasco last week.
Oh, I do have to go. Look at that one, Dr. Cooper. Dodgeball at after prom.
That was the breath.
Hi, my name's Sanjana Valu, and my favorite Mason moment was competing in person for the first time at the Ohio HOSA State Leadership Conference this past March and placing first in my event.
My name is David, and my favorite Mason moment was going to MIT with our Science Olympiad team.
Very impressive, the amount of students that have accomplished this, and I love hearing all of the varied, wide variety of Mason moments. It just goes to what you said, Bobby, about our students being the whole person. It's not just about a score or an academic achievement. We are producing well-rounded, energetic kids into the world. It is going to be awesome. Tracy, did you want to get a picture?
If I could have all the students, we're going to try this. Come up here. Our perfect ACT students, our board would love to have a picture with you. And look, I'll give them one more round. Maybe board members come in front of the podium. And I'm thinking Noah might be the center. We'll just do a little groupie up here. Congratulations.
Thanks for being here.
Before folks may start to filter out, the board may have some comments or some questions. Anyone have any commentary?
No, I just appreciate hearing everybody's moment, and particularly it seemed like whether you intended it or not, there was a theme in all of the moments I heard, that the memories that you've made while you're here have all involved some sense of community and some sense of your friends and peers. Not many folks that had a favorite Mason moment of something alone on their own. It was all part of a greater group, and that was really neat to kind of hear you all recall those things in a wide variety of moments too. So thank you for sharing those.
I think, a theme I noticed was a lot of you mentioned in person. You got to be with peers. I mean, you guys have lived through something, no one else your age has lived through up until this point in life. So you appreciate those Mason moments that maybe you would have taken for granted before. It was great to hear those moments.
Very awesome.
I would just say, I know there's some parents in the room. It's a proud moment, and really congratulations to you. You created an environment. Many of you may be like me and say, I don't know how in the heck he possibly got a perfect score. But something in that mixture is also part of what makes our community so special. That priority of education and putting your kids in the position to have these opportunities. And then just have a small bit of advice for all the perfect scores in the audience. Is that when your friends' parents ask you, what are you going to do for college? Your answer should be, I'm still considering my options, because you're going to have many, and you're already seeing those. And this score, as Mr. Dodd said, is not what defines you, but will help open doors for you. That's why we celebrate it. It is a great accomplishment, and but it doesn't define you, but it's certainly going to be an opportunity that each of you will be able to use as you choose your path in life. So congratulations, and we're all really proud of you.
Excellent. Thank you for being here tonight and for sharing your achievement with us. We're very proud of each and every one of you. We're going to take a short break here. If any of you need to leave to get on with your evening, feel free to do that. We would also welcome you if you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we will give you that opportunity.
little musical chairs every once in a while.
Okay, great. I think we're almost there. Okay, we'll continue on tonight with our hearing of the public as our next item on the agenda. We always appreciate a full house. A crowded room is always nice to see. And I know that we all appreciated the opportunity to congratulate our students who have achieved the perfect score on the ACT. We also know that we have several students here tonight with us wanting to take part in our hearing of the public. And we also know that the subject tonight on some of them is going to be the proposed legislation of Ohio House Bill 616. As your Board of Education, we too are concerned about this bill, primarily because we are committed to local control and not necessarily that of Columbus. We have a great appreciation for our community involvement in our schools and the ability of our staff to deliver sound educational excellence. We will always be opposed to any legislation that erodes our local control. I also want to ensure that everyone in Mason City schools knows that we remain steadfast in our commitment to inclusive excellence. For us, it is a non-negotiable. It is our duty to create a sense of belonging and ownership where every individual comment, students and staff feels that they are welcomed every day. We are steadfast in our dedication to every member of our community to deliver an excellent education to every student. And I'll go over just a little bit of the guidelines for our hearing of the public. Community participation or board meeting is limited to hearing of the public portion of the meeting. The board does not deliberate or decide any issue during hearing of the public, and we also do not respond and have back and forth conversation. We're here tonight to hear what our public has to say. Each person should state their name and address after they have come to the podium. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. So I ask that you all be mindful of the fact that we have quite a few speakers here tonight. In order to prevent disclosure of students or employees' private information, the board will not allow any complaints about specific employees of the district in public session. So with that, we will start our hearing of the public, and our first speaker tonight is Andrew Levin. Please come to the podium.
Hi, my name is Andrew Levin. My address is 6915 Walnut Meadows Drive. So I'm a senior here at MHS, and I really care about this community. I'm a member of SIBS, Student Government, Mason Inclusion Club, and Youth Activism Club because I care about this community. I mean, I just got the Mason Service Award last night because of how much I care about this community. And I'm here to tell you tonight that as someone who cares so much about this community, that House Bill 616 is not right for us. So House Bill 616 was introduced in the Ohio House on April 4th, and some of you may know it as the Don't Say Gay bill. But I want to move beyond that label tonight to tell you what's really in it. So first, for grades K through 3, it would prohibit the teaching, using, or providing of any curriculum or instructional materials on sexual orientation or gender identity. For grades 4 through 12, it would prohibit teaching about these things in any manner that's not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students according to state standards. For all grades, it would prohibit the teaching of anything designed to promote or endorse divisive or inherently racist comments. And these comments include things like critical race theory, intersectional theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion learning outcomes, and any other concept that the State Board of Education defines as divisive or inherently racist. And it would also allow the state to punish schools by revoking teachers' licenses and cutting school funding. So here's the thing. Inappropriate content is simply not taught here to students at Mason, nor is critical race theory. This bill is a solution in search of a problem, and to be honest, it wouldn't have much of an effect on our curriculum. But what it would have a huge effect on is the school environment. This bill targets queer students and students of color. Maybe that's not the intention, but it is the clear effect. I know this bill is far from being passed by either branch of the Ohio legislature, but its very existence already says you are not welcome here. It tells students that their identity is nothing more than a dirty, inappropriate sexual preference. It tells black students that their real, unfiltered history is too divisive to learn. And it tells students who are already marginalized that the state is against us. So I'm thankful for what you've already said about the bill already, that you're concerned about it. And I would remind everyone here tonight that the school board is a partner in this and not an enemy. And I know you all stand for inclusive excellence, but equity, diversity, and inclusion are not just principles we hold in our hearts. They are values we must stand up for. I am here tonight as a queer person who knows what it feels like to be afraid to be himself. I'm here tonight as a Jew who knows all too well the dangers of forgetting and whitewashing history. I'm here tonight as a young activist who hopes to make the world a better place. And most importantly, I'm here tonight as someone who cares about his community and believes that no more students should be forced to fight for their right to exist. Board members, please pass a resolution condemning House Bill 616. Please go beyond the statement that has already been made and specifically affirm the place of queer students and students of color of Mason City Schools. Please tell me and my fellow students that we belong. I know where your hearts are. Now I'm asking you to fight for us.
Thank you, Andrew. Our next student tonight speaking is Kaia Rossi.
Hello, my name is Kaia Rossi. My address is 3264 Palomino Trail. Okay. Hello, my name is Kaia Rossi. I am a queer student at Mason High School. As you know, in early April, House Bill 616 was proposed in the Ohio legislature. I have 1,000 things I could say about this, but today I want to focus on students' mental health. In a school with many diverse identities and families, this bill would be detrimental. It would add to the stigma and isolations of queer students and families. Here are some stats. The Trevor Project reported that in 2021, 94% of LGBTQ+ youth reported that recent politics negatively impacted their mental health. Trust me, this is affecting us. 42% of LGBTQ+ youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year, including more than half of transgender and non-binary youth. And the rates increase when you look at queer people of color suicide attempt rates. According to GLSEN, the vast majority of LGBTQ+ students in Ohio regularly heard anti-LGBTQ+ remarks. Many also regularly heard school staff make homophobic remarks and negative remarks about someone's gender expression. I know how much Mason cares about mental health, and this will only set us back. Mason has given me a platform to advocate for mental health and share my story. I've been a member of Mason's Hope Squad since the beginning. I'm so thankful for all the support and opportunities it has provided. Now I'm trying to pass it on. House Bill 616 will not stop inappropriate content from being taught because inappropriate content is not taught. What it will do, and what it already does, is legitimize the bullying we have faced and make students' mental health even worse. Mason City Schools stands for inclusive excellence, and we are thankful for that. We now ask to see inclusive excellence in action. I join Andrew, as well as the over 600 community members who have signed our petition, in asking you to pass a resolution condemning House Bill 616. But don't just pass a resolution because you're opposed to the bill. Pass a resolution because you stand in solidarity with queer and POC students. Pass a resolution because our stories matter just as much as everyone else's. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kaia. Our next speaker tonight is Gena Dantum. Did I say that correctly?
Well, Andrew, I'm Gena Dantum, 4814 Shagbark Court. Andrew and Kaia did such a great job. I had this whole speech planned, but I'm going to try and skip through some of it. I've been a Mason resident for 15 plus years. I'm the mother of a transgender college student, and I'm the mother of a biracial neurodivergent student. So I have some stake in this. I'm a licensed educator, and I've served for more than 10 years in Mason City Schools as both a long-term substitute teacher, as well as most recently as the former Central Staff Daycare Director and lead preschool teacher. My opposition to HB 616 is personal, but I also know how significantly this impacts my friends and neighbors who are teaching in these buildings, who have students that attend or will attend in the future. I do appreciate the work that you're already trying to do behind the scenes and the commitment you've made to continue inclusive excellence. But I want to also acknowledge that taking a public stance on this is a political risk. I understand that. But have you weighed the risk if you do not? The detrimental impact this bill threatens on all students, educators, and the leadership in our district, in my opinion, should be enough to take the risk. We've heard the very real impacts already on our most vulnerable students, but I want to assert that 616 truly impacts all students. The verbiage deemed invasive is unclear and dangerous, and I'll tell you why. Because we don't know how that's going to be enforced. Diverse perspectives are essential for post-secondary education and careers. Now, we know our schooling is appropriate here. We know our curriculum is fantastic. But what we don't know is what lawsuits might ensue. We don't know what parent is going to decide to report it. Today, most corporate professionals have to work in a global environment. My husband has a team that he manages intercontinentally. So our students do need to understand and experience diverse perspectives. 616 also directly impacts AP accreditation. The College Board has already spoken out against bills like these. They've said that diverse perspectives are required for accreditation of AP courses. Our perfect ACD students and our, destination district is gone if 616 passes. The bill also might put multiple financial and staffing strains on the district. Lawsuits, staffing losses as teachers leave because they're disheartened with their hands tied. Teachers who leave because they lose their licenses. Substitute expenses because the teachers that stay, they're already exhausted. They're already just completely mentally gone. I ask that you really, really consider what Andrew and Kaia are asking and speak out against this. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Elizabeth Kennedy.
Could you read out who's next each time?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that. Is it Tyra Memora? I'm having trouble reading this. The next on deck person?
Learima Marcos?
Yes, Capitol Avenue.
Yes.
Okay, you'll be on deck. Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Kennedy. I live at 5195 Wandering Way, and I use pronouns she, her, and hers. I've been a Mason resident for over 20 years. Both my children are graduates of the Mason City Schools. I've been a room mom and on way too many field trips to even count. But I'm also on the National Board of Governors with the Human Rights Campaign. The Human Rights Campaign is the largest LGBTQ civil rights advocacy group in the country. I fight every day to achieve full equality for queer people. HRC envisions a world where LGBTQ people are embraced as full members of society, at home, at work, and in every community, and that includes our schools. One of my children graduated with honors. One of my children was in the top 10%. One of my children has their name on a sign in the large commons as a National Merit Scholarship. One of my children ran cross country, and one was in the Spanish Honor Society. One of my children is straight, and one of my children are gay. But does it really matter? It shouldn't. To me, it doesn't. What if Mason teachers had not let one of my children live as their authentic selves? Would they have still achieved these accolades, or would they have felt shame, guilt, and angst over living their truth? Lucky for my children at the time, Mason teachers were still allowed to discuss, share, and encourage. When young LGBTQ people see themselves represented, when their sexuality and gender identity is no longer seen as a taboo topic, when they are meeting an inspiring and encouraging role model, they're offered an insight to a positive future for themselves. All of this has the power to save lives. Every child deserves a high-quality education grounded in honest and fact, regardless of race, background, or zip code. A good education should affirm, celebrate, and reflect a student's identities, experiences, and cultures. HB 616 isn't good for our children. I encourage the Mason School Board to join the Cincinnati Public Schools and the Columbus Public Schools by condemning this shameful and divisive bill. Our children's identities and lives are not divisive. We deserve better, Ohio deserves better, and certainly our children deserve better. Truth and facts still matter, and love is love.
Is it Tyra? Did I say your name correctly? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. And then on deck, we'll have Cheryl McKetrick. I apologize if I butcher someone's name so badly.
No worries. Good evening. My name is Learima Marcos, and I'm a resident at 3637 Capitol Avenue. I am a queer Filipino senior at Mason High School, and I am proud to say that I am one of the leaders of the Gender Sexuality Alliance, or the school's GSA. Tonight, I speak not only on behalf of my club members, but for everyone whose existence has been targeted by the introduction of Ohio's House Bill 616. Now, I come from a background that didn't attempt to be inclusive or diverse. I came from Fairfield. So I really only learned about gender identity, sexuality, and other cultures from school and media. And I find myself very fortunate to have had positive and healthy exposure to those topics. Many young people don't get that and may undergo periods of self-loathing related to some aspect of their identity. We as Mason students recognize the efforts that Mason City Schools has made for the good of its students regarding improving diversity and inclusivity. We see the Inclusive Excellence Team. We see the support for activists and advocacy clubs. We see the efforts to expand the curriculum to include more voices and stories. And I see how we as a community are bettered by these efforts. What we as a district stand for can be encapsulated in our big rocks of inclusive excellence, diversity, and personalized learning. Personalized learning doesn't just mean using different approaches to teach. It also aims to educate the whole student, which can include covering topics relating to their identity or history. How can we educate in an environment that is unwilling to accept certain students' identities or existences? Fundamentally, what House Bill 616 proposes is incongruous with our ideals. It seeks to erase history and knowledge that it deems divisive, but it is counterintuitive. Instead of building connections and communities, House Bill 616 would only build walls that prevent understanding of others. We know the positive impacts that our big rocks have on our community and on our students. House Bill 616 teaches students to condemn themselves, that if they are not even allowed to exist in a classroom, they are not worthy of existing outside of it. In the words of one of my club members, it's hard to accept your identity in a place you know you aren't safe. Please, let Mason, my home, be a place that refuses to follow that status quo by condemning House Bill 616. Thank you.
Cheryl, you're up, and Emory Whitmer Gauche, you'll be on deck.
My name is Cheryl McKetrick, and I live at 5143 Whispering Springs Drive. I've been a Mason resident for 25 years, and about a year ago, I retired from Procter & Gamble after a 35-year career. I'm gay. My partner and I raised 6 children, all of which who have attended Mason City schools. 2 will graduate from Ohio State University on Mother's Day. 2 are scheduled to graduate from the University of Cincinnati in the spring of 2024, and the remaining 2 will be freshmen at Mason High School next fall. I admit being a bit biased, but I really feel we've done a good job raising 6 strong, articulate, and caring young adults. I'm here this evening as one of our 8th graders, Emery, brought this issue to my attention. Emery brought this to my attention as she is outraged by the content of the House Bill 616. I have to admit, I may not agree with Emery on all issues we discuss at the dinner table, and those who raise teens may resonate with me on that, but I am fully aligned with her on this position. I feel a bit more background about myself might be helpful. I was raised in Detroit, one of 6 kids, attended public school from K through 8, then with support from my parents, I attended Catholic high school and eventually Michigan State University. I have great memories of growing up in Detroit, the Tigers winning the World Series in 1968, watching the Red Wings play hockey at the Olympia Stadium, playing outside until the street lights would come on, and then I would hear my dad's whistle, which meant you better get home as soon as possible. All those are great memories, but I also have other memories. I remember the race riots in Detroit, the debate on school segregation, and the frightening memory of being robbed at gunpoint in my childhood home when I was in 7th grade. Many of those painful memories I tried to hide for years. Throughout my training in diversity inclusion at P&G, I started to reflect on those memories and to understand my own personal bias. Those deep-rooted beliefs that one has, we all have them, based on our interactions and experience with others. Over the past several years, I have done more personal reflection, read more books, watched historical movies, and importantly, talked with others to learn more about their past and our past as a country. I continue on this learning journey today, and trust me, I still have a lot to learn. My concern with Bill 616 is it will filter what we teach our children and limit their ability to learn about our country's complete history. It would also prevent our children from openly discussing topics related to diversity and inclusion. Emery feels it will prevent her from openly talking about her gay parents. Putting those discussions back in the closet would go against all we have taught our children. In my mind, it would be a great injustice. Without studying and learning from our history, we are destined to repeat it. Thank you for your time.
You're up, and Andrea Oberschlake will be next.
Hi, my name is Emery Whitmer Gauche, and my address is 5143 Whispering Springs Drive. My pronouns are she, her, but they also works, and I am a member of our middle school's GSA as our pending presidential cabinet member. The roles aren't exactly set up yet. Well, I could honestly tell you guys I wrote this for hours. I didn't because I knew if I did, it would have probably been an hour long, and I didn't want to do that to all of you because I know how many people want to speak tonight. But I do want to talk about what this would be like for me in kindergarten. Picture maybe 5, 6-year-old me drawing our class's assignment with crayons that were probably ratio 10 to germs, 1 to actual pigment. And the assignment happened to be that day, draw your family. It probably would have been my mom's, my amazing siblings, and probably 5-ish. I'm not sure. But imagine my teacher having to pull me aside and tell me that I can't show my photo to anybody in that classroom and that I must go throw it away because some students and families feel that, and even our state feels that my family is somehow inappropriate for people to understand and learn about. My parents, who I love so much, who have raised me to be this amazing human being, are not appropriate for me to talk about. This doesn't make much sense. Our school teaches E + R = O and pushes for the idea that your story matters. Explain to me how my story would matter if we were erasing the idea that my family exists when I was so young and so vulnerable. When students are young and are not taught about things, that is how we make them into people who are then further learning and ingraining biases in their heads. That's how we keep them from understanding diversity, which is so important to other people's stories. And again, something that our school district proudly pushes. But if our school district does not continue to push it, it will be horrific. Tell me how POC students' stories will matter if our district allows this bill and does not condemn it. Arguably, a school district that is probably the largest in Ohio and probably one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful. I mean, just look at the amazing students and their ACT scores and how many of them were perfect. We definitely are a big deal here in Ohio. Our school is proud to say that they have a Hope Squad, improving itself and keeping its students safe by teaching their children about different identities and queerness, among other different topics. But it is proven that students who have a safe space in schools are way less likely to commit suicide. And as previous speakers have already talked about, students who do not have a safe space are increasingly likely to commit suicide and feel alone.
I mean, I'm in middle school, and I can tell you for a fact that I've already had to deal with my friends telling me they do not feel like living anymore. I'm in middle school, and this is because their families do not support them or their friends don't. So what I'm urging you to consider is that how are you going to explain to children that their friends are not coming back to school when you can't even teach them about why their friends aren't coming back to school? It doesn't make any sense. Think about the kids. This is a death sentence to some kids, and it's horrific for the kids whose families don't support them already.
Andrea, you're up. And Susan, is it Lintzman? Lurtzman on deck. Thank you.
Congratulations, President Yingling, on almost pronouncing my name properly. Hardly anybody gets anywhere near that. So I'm Andrea Oberschlake. I'm at 6482 Indianwood Drive in Mason, Ohio. I was an educator for years before I ran off to Colorado with this crazy person over here, and got married, and then went from teaching little kids to older kids. And I worked in districts where we had what we deemed at-risk children, lots and lots of them. And I want to talk a little bit about that and how this bill puts so many children who are currently already at risk at further risk. I would go to school and I would notice a child who hadn't eaten. They can't function when they haven't eaten. They don't really care about what you're teaching them. They're worrying about where they're going to get their next meal. Luckily, Mason's a community where we don't have this issue very much. It's something that, and if we have had it, we work on it. We have a food bank, we have support. We try to help anyone who might be in that situation. I had students who would come to school in the same clothes day after day after day because they slept in a car, because they didn't have a home, or because they'd been pushed out of their home. One of my son's best friends was disowned and pushed out of her home by her own family because she was transgender. I'm happy to say that her friends and her friends' families took her in one after another. She couch surfed. Her schooling suffered. Her grades suffered. She had previously been one of the top people in her class. But not having a home, she couldn't focus. Luckily, she had some support, but it was still terrifying for her. She was 16. Some of these children already don't have support at home. Some of these children may not have been kicked out, but they might be on the edge of it. They might want out. And they spend at least 8 hours a day here with us, with the educators, with the students. So in the very least, if they don't have a safe home, if they don't feel heard or believed or valued, they should have that here. I ask you to please consider that. Thank you.
We are getting close on time, so Susan, you're up, and then next will be Julie Womack.
Well, in the interest of time, my name is Susie Lurschman. I live at 7343 Red Oak Court in Mason. I pay taxes here. I don't have kids. I have no one in the school system. But I can tell you, as a first-generation American, that this is supposed to be the melting pot. This is supposed to be where tolerance is everywhere. If you recall, there were problems a number of years ago that ended with something called segregation. That can't happen here. No one needs to feel like a second-class citizen. I'm 55. When I was in school, I was the weirdo. I didn't have anyone to talk to. The only friends I had were my stuffed animals all the way through 12th grade. I didn't go to any dances. I now belong to a group that might be included in this bill in the future, but it's still too scary to say. It's too scary to use. I'm not going to use it because it's none of your business. If you have a little kid in your class with two daddies, as someone said earlier, you tell them to throw their family away. That'll make them feel really included and happy to be here in school. Earlier, you all said that you like to produce inclusive excellence and well-rounded people. If you're going to divide people into groups, there is no inclusive excellence. I also want to let you know that this all affects everyone. I'm 55. I'm disabled. I plan to retire here. So far, if we produce people in this school system who are intolerant of my conditions or my preferences or my anything else's, I will have nowhere to go. This affects everyone. These kids, pardon me for saying it that way, kids, these young people will be taking care of me in my old age. They'll be running my government. If they're intolerant, we might just go back to varying forms of segregation. We just got through with that. Well, obviously with Black Lives Matter, we didn't get through with it because people didn't speak up. People didn't say, this is okay in our schools. Don't have to teach it, but if it comes up, you need to discuss it. Maybe just, Anne has two dads. Now, Charlie, let's talk about you. So I thank you, and I hope you all do the right thing by rejecting this bill. Thank you.
Logan Strunk, you will be on deck.
My name is Julie Womack, 6854 Roberts Park Drive. I'm a parent in the district, but part of what I do for a living is talking to teachers and librarians all over the country who are facing very similar bills in their states. So I want to talk from the perspective of a teacher tonight and what I'm hearing from these professionals. So you're a teacher, and HB 616 has passed, so you cannot teach or use any material or that is designed to promote or endorse divisive or inherently racial concepts. So, and as an individual, if you do, an individual can just file a complaint against you and you can face the loss of your teaching license and your school can lose funding. So no pressure. So what do? Well, you think, what the heck is a divisive or inherently racist concept? So you go look it up in the bill. Critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion learning outcomes, inherited racial guilt. And you're probably going, what in the heck are you talking about? Because that's how broad the terms are in the bill. And there are so many ways to interpret them. So there's a lot of confusion around these terms these days. A lot of people think that if you talk about race, it's critical race theory. You hear people arguing that if their student is uncomfortable learning about slavery or Jim Crow laws, that it's guilt and you can't teach that. So now as a teacher, you have to worry that if you talk in the wrong way about the civil rights movement or the Civil War and someone doesn't like it, they're going to complain and try to take your license away. But then you think, this is ridiculous. I'm a teacher. I should be able to talk and speak about accurate history. But then you look at the news and you hear stories out of Texas where administrators have told their teachers that you do have to teach both sides of the Holocaust. Scott Baldwin, a legislator in Indiana who sponsored this similar bill in Indiana, was caught saying that the state's version teachers would have to be neutral on fascism and Nazism. So this is what you're hearing as a teacher. And then you read about book bans in Tennessee and Pennsylvania where we can't teach Ruby Bridges' story or MLK Jr. or Rosa Parks. These are all things that have happened. So you're a teacher in K through 3, and you have students in your class, like this was already covered, whose families have 2 moms or 2 dads. But you can't have a book in your classroom like Heather has 2 mommies. You can't represent those families. The Mayo Clinic and the American Academy of Pediatrics says that most kids have a sense of gender identity by 4 years of age. So as a teacher, you are going to face these questions in your classroom, and you won't be able to address them. If Mason stands for the principle of inclusive excellence, and it's not just performative words, then you have to oppose this bill, and you have to do it loudly, and you have to do it publicly. You can't just tell your students of color or your students who are part of the LGBT community that their stories don't matter, or that you don't support them and their experiences. You have to show teachers that you respect them as professionals. And also, you got to protect our high-quality schools. The College Board has come out and said that legislation like this that could let limits curriculum in schools could actually cause a loss of AP accreditation. And I'm going to tell you, knowing the Mason School District, parents will lose their collective mind if we lose the AP accreditation. And the other thing is, good luck as a school board figuring out how you're going to comply with this bill and Title IX at the same time. No. So I hope that you will pass a resolution just like many other school districts in the state have done.
I have 3 speakers left, and I think we probably have just about 3 minutes, so if we can abbreviate, I would greatly appreciate it. And Francesca, you will be up next.
I'll try my best.
Thank you.
Right. I'm Logan Strunk. I live at 6642 Falling Leaves Court. I'm a student here at Mason. And I don't really know exactly what to say that hasn't already been said already. People are so good at all their speeches, but I just wanted to first thank you all for hearing all of us out, and I wanted to remind us all of the 3 big rocks that Mason has, 2 of which are culture and inclusive excellence. Culture is described as building an inclusive and positive culture, and inclusive excellence is described as deepening appreciation for diversity and commitment to equity, inclusion, and justice. So, we've heard a lot about both bans in this bill, the don't say gay aspect, but then also the bans on inherently racial concepts. And this goes against everything Mason stands for and our 3 big rocks. It would ban, it even says it would ban diversity, equity, and inclusion learning, which are specifically mentioned in our 3 big rocks. And there are just certain things that we would not be able to teach anymore. We would not be able to have our AP classes, and that would be crazy for Mason. Mason needs we need our AP classes. And try teaching the Constitution without talking about race or gender. How are you going to teach the 13th Amendment? How are you going to teach the 14th Amendment? How are you going to teach the 15th Amendment? How are you going to teach the 19th Amendment? And while I do not know exactly how many students, I personally know that there are many, many students in the school who identify with the LGBTQ community, and this legislation doesn't affect some random cousin of mine in Northern Ohio. It doesn't affect some person that I met who goes to a different school. It affects my friends. It affects people in this room right now, and it affects students who go to the school that you are all constantly working to make better. So I please ask you to continue working to make it better and condemn this bill. Thank you.
Francesca, and I have Bob Miller, and that will do it for the evening.
Hi, so I'm Francesca Boyton. My address is 3969 The Ridings. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Francesca Boyton. I'm a senior and one of the leaders of our school's Gender Sexuality Alliance Club. I have not always lived here in Mason, and before this, I lived in a very small town that lacked a lot of the diversity in culture and identity expression that we see here. And then when I moved here in 5th grade, it was incredibly eye-opening, and I feel so lucky to have relationships with such a diverse group of people, and that I have access to materials and events I never would have had in my own town. With that came a broadening of my knowledge of social issues and how I, along with everyone else in this school, am able to make an impact on what's happening around me. Being a part of such a socially active and present city and school is amazing, but it comes with a responsibility. We have the privilege and the power to make our voices heard, and we have to act on that, not just for ourselves and our friends, but for all the other schools and students throughout Ohio who were not able to speak up. House Bill 616 is incredibly harmful to students in Ohio. I cannot even begin to express the toll this will take on students, especially ones a part of the LGBTQ+ community. There is already an extreme lack of education on queer history and health in schools, if any at all. School is a place where students should feel safe and open to ask questions and educate themselves. It is a place where nobody should feel lesser for their identities and where everyone should have resources to learn more about their identities. We as a school and as a community need to show that we don't support this bill. We do not support what this bill would do to students in Ohio. I speak for all of us when saying that we deserve better, and we hope you will continue to stand with us in putting your students' well-being and education first by condemning House Bill 616.
My name is Bob Miller. I live at 5200 Greenhouse Drive. I've been a resident of Mason for over 20 years. I'm here for two reasons tonight. I'm the father of a non-binary queer trans child named Indigo who graduated here at Mason High School in 2019. The second reason, I'm a history professor at Claremont College, and that's probably the bigger reason. I want to start by saying that Franklin Roosevelt is one of my heroes in history, and in his 1933 inaugural address, and this is a quote that's familiar to most of you, he said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." A lesser politician could have capitalized on the economic malaise facing the nation with partisan and divisive rhetoric. He refused to play the fear card and by playing for cheap, the fear card for cheap votes. State Representative Gene Schmidt has introduced a bill, as you know, in my opinion, that panders to fear. On the surface, the bill seems reasonable, not taking gender identity into grades through 3. But wait, there's more. It's a Trojan horse. In many ways, it has many other prohibitions. Critical race theory, no diversity, as has been discussed. Even though Schmidt claims that she has no homophobic bone in her body, the clear, that's a quote in the Enquirer, by the way, the clear intent of this proposed legislation will be to discourage any conversation in the classroom about diversity. How are we equipping our children for the future in the workforce, in neighborhoods, and social meetings if we only want to teach a sanitized version that won't hurt their feelings or make them feel guilty? As an educator of 30 plus years, I implore you, members of the board, to vote this proposal down. At its heart, it is mean-spirited. It has no meaningful pedagogical value. If passed, teachers will live in fear of reprisals for simple gestures of civility in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers who came this evening. And again, we will take a short break. If any of you need to leave tonight to go on with your evening, we'll take a short break to let you do that. If you wish to stay, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting.
hole.
The next item on our agenda tonight will be item 7, administrative personnel. We have some resignations, and I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to, on item with Kelly Miller resigning, just wish her the very best. She's an assistant principal. She served at Mason Early Childhood Center. She's also overseen our preschool and walked us through all the changes that have gone on with Step Up to Quality and done a great job. And so we're happy for her. This is a new opportunity for her and her family. So I just want to thank her for her service here and wish her the best as she moves on to her next chapter. Thank you.
Retirement can often be so bittersweet. Any other comments from the board tonight?
Do we know where her, are we allowed to know where her next
Yeah,
opportunity
it's
is?
with a neighbor. It's with, she came from Butler County ESC and has served there, and then another opportunity has invited her to do that, and it fits with some of the pace that she would like to be at right now, which is great.
Our loss will be their gain.
Yeah, should be great.
Sorry, I didn't mean to misspeak. I said retirement. It is clearly resignation.
Yes, she's had a long, wonderful career ahead of her, I believe, so, yeah.
That could be bittersweet as well. Any other comments? Seeing none, Sean, please call the roll.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
5-0.
Next up is item 8, non-district funded positions. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion or questions from the board?
Do not believe so.
Seeing none. Sean, please call the roll.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
5-0.
Thank you. Item 9, certified personnel, superintendent's recommendations. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board?
You know, the only thing I'll just mention, we continue to get substitute teachers coming in, and that's great. So if you're still considering becoming a sub, we had a record amount of substitute teachers come to our district this year after we put some things in place and encourage that. So continue to come here if you're watching this and you're considering being a sub, and we'll get you hopefully in the program so you'll be here even next year. And then we also have some new teachers on here that we're excited to welcome. So you'll see some new names on the agenda, and they're coming in next year. And we continue to be thrilled with the candidate pools that we are able to attract here at Mason City Schools. Very fortunate. So welcome to all those new faces.
It's that time of year. And thank you to your staff for getting a little creative on our substitute, building up the bank, so to speak. Went through a rough period there for a while. Any other comments? Seeing none. Sean, please call the roll.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
5-0.
Item 10 is supplemental personnel, superintendent's recommendations. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments?
None.
Questions? Seeing none. Sean, please call the roll.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
5-0.
Item 11 is resolution for hiring non-certified personnel. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
None at this time.
Seeing none. Sean, please call the roll.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
5-0.
Item 12 is classified personnel, superintendent's recommendations. Couple items here. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or?
You know, I just congratulate those that are retiring or moving on to new opportunities, because we have some names on here of people that have served us well for a long period of time. So we're just thrilled for them and grateful for their service here. There's also, I believe that's the only other comment I have at this point. Yep.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none. Sean, please call the roll.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
5-0.
14 is certified personnel additional duties. I need a motion, please.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
You'll see on here that we're continuing to move forward on providing additional supports for students, and so you'll see that show up on here, and paying teachers during the summer and staff to provide those intervention services through Latera and training, and so you'll continue to see us working to make sure that we have a full team in place to catch those students and give them whatever services that they might need during the summer.
Great, and we thank them for that. Anything else?
Going back to 12, didn't point this out, but Subject E is a new salary schedule for certified nutrition positions. So I think that's a bump up from what we currently have, Jonathan. So I'm trying to stay market competitive so that we can make sure we're fully staffed there.
Yeah, thank you for catching that. Sorry, we were moving quick and I missed it, but thank you.
No worries.
Any other item? Seeing none, Sean, please call the roll.
Ms. Abachi?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Gavin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
5-0.
Item 14, classified personnel, again, additional duties. I need a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Comments, questions?
Same thing as the comments before, just thanking our staff for stepping up and providing, being willing to come in this summer to work with our kids. We appreciate that.
Great. Anything else? Other comments? Seeing none, Sean, please call the roll.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Gavin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Ms. Abachi?
Yes.
5-0.
And item 15 is contracted personnel for independent contracts. I need a motion, please.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. See graduations on here, that's coming up. Any questions or, Jonathan, any?
Just Patrick, on here, there is a requirement, there's a CPR requirement training, and so we have that every year. It's an annual training, so you'll see that on here as a contract. And then also, you're right, graduation's on here. Super excited. We had a meeting today. Remember, graduation is at the Tennis Center, so it's local. We started that last year. We decided we were committing to that for a couple of years to see how that is. We used to go down to the Cintas Center. Locally, it was a big hit last year, so you know, hope for the best weather ever. And we have great sound techs that worked with us today, even just to work through the details. So excited for that coming up soon.
I think the community was pretty excited about having a local graduation for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, it was really great to have everybody together, and it's a beautiful facility, and that partnership has really been strong, so happy to
And
have that.
support the local businesses on that day. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Sean, please call the roll.
Mr. Gavin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Ms. Abachi?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
5-0.
And item 16 is, I need a motion. It'll be the first reading of board policies.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Won't be any action on this tonight, but it is, as I mentioned, the first reading. And then they will come back to us at the next meeting for adoption by the board. Any questions or concerns, commentary?
Yeah, just encourage people to go check them out.
Those are all hyperlinks to documents you can click on and read what the policy changes are, so please do.
And several of our policy changes are aligned with, anytime a law changes or language changes in law, we update those, and we have a team of people that are giving us support on that. And then we meet as a team with our policy committee, review those, adopt the ones that are in alignment with what we already have or in addition to what we need to. And then, as you said, we have a month for people to read those, have any questions that they have. Definitely come to me and let me know, and happy to address those.
Absolutely.
There will be a quiz at the next meeting, right? For anybody that attends to get in, you have to.
I did not have a perfect ACT, I'll admit that, so I don't know that I'll be the one, but I'll
Now
get
you
one of my
tell us.
friends to help me.
No, it's a great deal of work, both by staff and board members that serve on that committee. And I believe right now it is Kevin and Ian, is that correct?
Nope.
No, you don't apologize?
Charles,
Charles, okay.
our resident
My mistake.
legal eagle.
We rotate, sorry. But it is a good deal of work. So thank you for that. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. That does not need an adoption tonight. Item 17 is the action items, the superintendent's recommendations. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. And Jonathan, I'll let you make your
Yeah,
comments.
let me walk through here. So anytime we have anyone leave out of a team, for example, in this case, you heard Ian mention that there was an adjustment to a salary piece earlier in the agenda for our child nutrition services. Part of that is we reorganized some pieces within our child nutrition services, and because we had some folks move to different positions, and we took that opportunity to align efforts and reevaluate. And so you'll see on here, we'll put new job descriptions that are posted. Before we post those, we adopt those as a new job description within our district, and that goes through action items here. So you'll see those here for child nutrition services. You'll also see the prevention and wellness work. You've heard a couple of the students even address that tonight, as we've made efforts over the last for several years to continue to build a more robust support system for mental wellness and get a support system in place. And now we're moving into a proactive prevention posture and bringing additional resources. These resources they came from two things. One, we collected data from our students and staff and families about what their needs were, and so we heard that and we said, okay, let's take that data. We also then we did leadership listening lessons is what we call it, where we rotate around the district to listen to our administrators, listen to the folks closest to the actual work and the needs, tell us what they needed. And so from that, we're able to add additional resources to our wellness program in a preventative measure. So these are job descriptions for those. And so now we have a wellness coordinator, we have a wellness team, and now we're going to have additional resources. So when a student is finding themselves in a space where they need additional support, we'll have the support in place proactively now to catch those kids and help them right away and help families. And so we'll continue to evaluate that. We also have great partnerships with Cincinnati Children's and others around the area to help us with that, but we're trying to just make sure our program is the best it can be for our students. The other things that you'll see on here, starting with items E through H, those are services for students who need additional services that maybe we are not able to provide here on campus. And so that's a process that we go through with the family and address those and assign students to different resources. And we pay for that as a school district to provide those resources to get the best service for our kids. And then I is disposal of items. Because we are the public school that is connected to St. Sue as a partner, we help with disposal of items. We help with some of their financial things as well. So that is part of our role and Sean, if you ever have questions about what that looks like on the financial end, Sean, I'm sure, could answer those questions. And then Alpha Omega, that's a contract that we have. Part of our custodial services are in-house, and part of those are services that we go through an agreement with a contract. And they feel like they're just in-house people because we know them well now and they do a great job. And every time I'm walking through the buildings, because I'm usually there late at night, they're always just so thoughtful and know me and say hello. So they feel just like part of our team. We have been very happy with that partnership, so we're continuing that contract and moving forward on that. So that's on here as item J, so you're welcome to look at that. And then the charter service agreement with Red Rhythm and Boom, we come up each year to the 4th of July activities, and we have an agreement with our partners, the city, which is great, and we help them out with different things, and so this is the agreement that addresses those partnerships. Linder Family Tennis Center, that's the agreement that we have with graduation. Sorry, there's a lot. This is a long one because it's spring. But that has been that's not only great for us for graduation and local, but they also help us with our tennis courts because they use the tennis courts for their pros now that come into town. So each year when the professional athletes come in, what happens is if they lose a round, they come over and they use our facilities. They want those facilities to look great, so we have a great partnership with them to make sure they upkeep those. That helps everyone in the community because those are always open to everyone in the community and they're top level, but that's through that agreement with them as well. And you get to meet professionals. Our students help them and work with them. So, and then the stadium video board, that is, we have a long-term plan for replacing things over time. So when a scoreboard begins to act up, we have that built into our budget to replace those. And so each year we update those boards. This is the last one over our, 20 so years updating those. So the cycle is coming to its end, and then it will we'll look at that for the next 20 years to make sure that we're able to. And this is the one that's out in the big football stadium area where both band and football and lacrosse and everything, ultimate frisbee and everything else goes on there. So this is an important one for us to get that.
Absolutely.
That's everything on there. Thanks for your patience.
That's a
as I work
lot.
through this.
And I'll ask the board if they have any comments, questions. Some of us have worked on committees that have made a lot of these items possible, put them on the agenda.
I'm just really excited to be returning to the tennis center for graduation. I thought that was an awesome experience last year, and I'm excited that the next graduating class will get to be part of that too. I think that's a unique, I'm as a proud Xavier grad and somebody who had their wedding reception at the Cintas Center, with all due respect, it's a little bit of a cookie cutter graduation experience. So being able to do it at the tennis center and keep it in Mason is a really special thing. So happy to do that.
Grateful for the continued investment in mental health services for all buildings, making sure that we get to where we need to be for where the kids need us, right? And so grateful that we live in a district where we can provide those resources to those students who may be in crisis, so that we can help them and their families get to a better place so that they can continue their learning journey.
That brings up a good point. Thank you for mentioning that. I know that there was a email survey that went out this week that's being collected over the course of the next week regarding mental health services to our
It's really
families.
school-based health services, which
Okay.
are more than
Well,
just
that-
mental health services,
Yeah.
just to be clear.
Yeah, it reminded me to encourage people to fill that out and return that, because it's important for us.
Yeah, thank you very much for pointing that out.
Any other comments or questions? The mental health piece, this district has really made mental health a focus by choice for the benefit of our students, and making sure that when they come to school every day, they really are prepared, equipped, and supported to learn. So those are some very key items in this piece of recommendations, and I'm honored to be a part of approving those. Any other items? Seeing none, Sean?
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
5-0.
And 18 is the treasurer's report. I'll ask for a motion.
So move.
Second.
Thank you, and Sean, you can enlighten us.
Sure, we got 3 to 4 categories of items we're approving tonight. Items A through E are financial reports from the months of February and March. Item F is a new fund that we're setting up for, we got about a $10,000 grant from the federal government related to some of our COVID funding. So a new fund for that. Item G is donations. So we have some donations we approve monthly for all kinds of things. This month we have some donations to the comic cupboard and to the athletic department for some different purchases that they're making. And the last item on there, item H, is for enrichment personnel. So the after-school enrichment programs we have, some of our elementary buildings, we have sometimes hired contractors to perform those services, and so that's what this item is.
Excellent, thank you. Any other comments, questions? I'm always, it always warms my heart to see the amount of contributions and types of contributions and involvement our community continues to express in our district. Seeing no other comments, Sean, please call the roll.
Mrs. Yingling?
Yes.
Mrs. Batchy?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Mr. Galvin?
Yes.
Mr. Orr?
Yes.
5-0.
19 is committee reports. We have superintendent committees that serve the district and help advise the superintendent and his staff. And I will, Jonathan, let you lead by
following up the committees that have met since our last meeting.
That's great. So I'll ask Tracy, Arts and Activities Council.
Arts and Activities Council approved at the high school a new club, the Young Black Men's Association, and also approved an out-of-state overnight trip for our MHS Speech and Debate, who's going to be going to Louisville. And then if you enjoyed Moana at the middle school, you're going to want to go see next year Shrek the Musical Junior, which we approved.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Mr. Orr, do you mind? I was not at Athletic Council, but if you don't mind, just.
Of course. We reviewed our successful winter sports season. So shout out to the young women of the Mason High School varsity basketball team for runner-up in the state. It was a great journey, and not only created a lot of enthusiasm, but also helped us replenish some of the lost gate receipts that we had during COVID when we couldn't have spectators there. So that's coming around. We talked about the fees that are coming in for spring that should be arriving to help us get back in the black over there. And then I know Todd's not here for facilities, but some of the potential facilities projects that will be coming to us soon out of the Athletic Council, you know, turf for the baseball fields and things like that. So productive meeting. It was my first Athletic Council meeting, so good to meet the other members of the council. So really good, productive meeting.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Todd is not feeling well tonight, so he was not able to be with us, but Facilities Committee did meet, and we did, Todd did a great job walking us through the projected projects that are going to be taking place this summer. We had some discussion around some of that. Like each year we have pavement that goes in so that we're rotating that through. You might even see part of our roof over here is being replaced. We do those in chunks because there's a lot of it. We also had some of the items that were in earlier that I addressed on the action items actually came from facilities, so I won't repeat those, but so I think we've covered most everything that's going to be in there for now.
And Kevin and I serve on that committee, and I am continually impressed with the way our staff takes care of our facilities and keeps it up, available in good operating order for the safety of our students and the benefit of our community, the benefit of our investment. The foundation, did we have anyone at?
Yeah, I was there. Our biggest thing that we did was we're actually just getting ready. We're in a grant cycle right now. We have some great grants. Our grant committee actually meets in the morning to look at those. But we had one grant that was so compelling, and we had a little bit of money left in this. We always want to give back as a foundation board $100,000 each year to the schools. We've been doing that for at least the last 7 years, I believe. And so we were a little shy, and the foundation was like, man, do we have a grant that would work for that? And Rachel Shear at MECC, first grade teacher, wrote just a beautiful grant about the benefit of wordless books. We were all incredibly moved by that. I would encourage any family or parent to think about wordless books. I am now thinking about it in a different way. She is willing to not only do the grant, it's about a $7,000 grant for her own class, but she's also going to be sharing it with all of the first grade teachers and just the impact of that. It really has a lot of implications for her students who might be learning in addition, who might have additional language to English, students who have maybe are on the spectrum. There's just so many different ways she has seen over her time in teaching of what a wordless book can do to really make really incredible conversation. So we can't wait to see the impact that will have.
It really is worth 1,000 words.
Yep.
And my mistake, I went over the Finance Committee, Sean. I hope you don't feel slighted.
Yeah, no problem. Finance Committee, we did have a couple topics that we went through at our meeting last week. One of the key pieces of our our long-term planning is our permanent improvement fund. And so that helps us support projects that, like Mr. Cooper mentioned with the facility committee, pavement, roofs, technology. It covers a lot of different areas. And so we look at a 10-year forecast on our permanent improvement fund. So that was one of the things that we looked at this week or last week. The other topic was looking at a company called Enrollment Management Services around our health insurances. We have very quickly put Mr. Orr and his insurance background to work on our finance committee and helping us sort through some of the intricacies of some options out there as it relates to our health insurances and the financial aspects of that. So those were our 2 topics.
That's excellent. Use that man's skills. Okay. Anything else? Seeing none? All right, we'll go to item 20, legislative update. Jonathan?
Do you want me to jump in first? Is that okay? Yep. Legislative update, there's one bill that is expected to continue to move forward. That's the only activity that's expected in the most current future, and that would be House Bill 383 and Senate Bill 306. It comes down to House Bill 383, but they're mixed, they blend those together over time. That's, the hearing on that is May 17th. That started as a bill that was to give flexibility for substitute teachers. If you remember, there was a change in allowing some local decision-making around what your criteria is for substitute teachers because there was such a shortage in substitute teachers. And so we made some of those changes like many districts, and so this extends that further. But because it's the one bill that will move forward in this summer after the spring recess, that's the one to watch, because as legislation has it, what happens is they add everything that's related to education into that bill last minute. So it happens every year in the cycle. We'll stay closely watching that as a school district. We do that every year where we have multiple groups that we're a part of that will monitor that for us and keep us abreast of what's happening and what's being suggested to be added in that last minute. So if there's something that would be added that would not align with what we would want or our values, we would definitely make sure that we voice that. But that's hearings, I think, are coming May 17th or after, somewhere around there. The only other thing, there was the movement on another House Bill 126. We've talked about that. I don't know that it directly impacts us. I think you might have mentioned that even last time, or maybe Sean and I were discussing that. And then State Board of Education is planning, I think they're meeting this week or next to continue the conversations about the dyslexia guidebook and some of those bills. Remember, we talked about that briefly last time. We want supports for sure for kids with dyslexia, but they have an approach right now that is a pretty broad, one-size-fits-all that could have massive impacts on requirements for teachers, some funding, and so we'll continue to work on that as well. So those are the updates, and then obviously tonight we heard a lot about a future bill that is moving or being proposed, which is House Bill 616.
Jonathan, real quick, can you compare where you mentioned this one, House Bill 383, is close to, or it's moving forward? Compare that to what you've learned of House Bill 616 and the status.
Yeah,
of
so things take a lot of time in Columbus because they go back and forth. They get proposed, like House Bill 616, as we heard today. People put something together. Then eventually it will go to committee, be heard. There's a lot of hearings, and sometimes those are right away open for us to come speak at those, or for the public to go up to Columbus and speak at those. So I would definitely encourage people that spoke tonight to pay close attention, because that invitation is open to the public to come talk to the committee. The committee then considers that and then makes any changes or adjustments, and then it moves over to the other side of the aisle, or the other side of the legislature, for them to consider, and then they will have their version. They'll add pieces to it. So there's lots of levels to that, and a lot of time ahead of us for House Bill 616 as well. This one has already gone through that back and forth conversation. I started hearing about this in the fall. So if that gives you kind of a timeline, this started coming to us in the fall. We started giving our input on it. Like I was at I'm on the legislative committee for BASA, so I sit there in Columbus and give them feedback. One of the things we asked them, like in this one, for example, is they were adding some pieces into it, and our feedback was stop adding a bunch of things that are going to put hoops for us to jump through at a local level. Like we figured it out this year with the substitute bill. Please allow us to continue to do what we're doing here. So if that gives you there's a long runway. Now, this bill here, because it's the only one that will most likely be have movement this summer, that's when they have special names for those bills, but they add a whole bunch of stuff last minute into them, and so those are the ones we got to watch, because it's right after school's out typically. and a lot of people have gone their different ways, so.
One of the things I heard you say, I just want to make sure everybody in here hears about it. There's a long runway yet for House Bill 616, opportunity for people to
Oh, for sure.
provide their input in Columbus where this bill is proposed and where the state legislature hears testimony, things like that.
Yeah.
I think we've also got a couple of our local, we have a local state rep and race coming on. I don't think we have a date for that election yet. If somebody knows otherwise, correct me if I'm wrong. But I know that the people in that race would probably love to hear from all of you in here. So if you haven't already, contact those candidates and make sure that's a priority to have your voice heard.
And if it's something that someone has not been to the state to speak at a committee, there is a protocol to that, and it's formal. I'm happy to, if a student especially would need to talk through that, happy to talk with our students about what that looks like, and so that it's not I trust they can figure that out too, but I'm always a resource if I could help, since I've done that before.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you very much. The next item is 21, Administrator Commentary.
Nothing for me tonight.
No?
Nothing for me tonight. Nothing for me, thank you.
Quiet crew.
Nothing tonight?
Hey, the only thing, I just want to, just a couple real quick things, and I'll just summarize some things that our team has celebrated as well. One is we had a prom this weekend, and just always happy when our kids are safe at the end of that. Because, it's a lot of kids traveling to prom, and it's spring. So just so happy that went well. And just a thank you to the parents. We needed parent volunteers, and we got parent volunteers to stay here until about 2 in the morning. So thank you for all the parents for doing that. That's the only way those moments happen, is because of our parent support. The other is we have Hope Week this week is for Hope Squad. You heard Kaia talk about Hope Squad, and this is Hope Week. So continue to look for ways to spread that hope and encourage people. We have local neighbors we have 2 neighboring schools that have experienced suicide this week already. And so, just always go and talk with our students, love them and care for them. And great points tonight on how we can continue to do that. So I want to thank our students for bringing that to our attention. And then just overall, just here for me as your superintendent, we're here for you, and we'll continue to be here for you as our students and our families. So pass it on.
Thank you. Next item up is board commentary. And this side's been quiet tonight. We can start on this end, Kevin.
That never happens with him, does it?
What's going on?
There was a lot said. You can listen sometimes, too. Well, I'll just add to Jonathan's point, particularly call out Casey Moran, who has again pulled off an after prom as the leader of that effort. I know she has many, many, many helpers, and she would never ask for any spotlight on that, but she shows up in so many places to help, and certainly appreciate her and all the parent volunteers. This marked a moment for Marcia and I. It was the first after prom in 20 years that we weren't at, or however long after prom's been going on. And she had some very mixed emotions about that at about 2 in the morning. I think she felt guilty, but certainly thank all the people that have picked it up, and that's part of a healthy community, is when you can do that. I know some people in this room have put in their dues in that effort as well, and it's very important to have a safe night. The other thing I would just say about that is that, if you're a parent of young kids, one of the things that we've tried to do is create the dynamic where that's a way you can get involved. Even though your kids aren't involved in the prom, it's a bit of a way to trade that work, because when you're a parent of someone at the prom, sometimes you're not as welcome to be there helping. And so that's if you're a young parent looking for something to get involved in, don't think after prom is off limits. That's a place you'll be really welcome, and if you're lucky as me, you can do it for 20 straight years, and then you'll feel really good about it.
It's great insight to the future as well, right? For
Yeah,
the young
exactly.
parents.
So, I would like to just make a couple of comments about what was said tonight, particularly from our students. I felt like it was a night to listen, and I tried to make a point of doing that, and there were some very, very compelling statements made, I think, about our culture and some of the things that we prioritize here. And, you know, one of the things that I often get called to meet up with someone that might want to run for a particular political office, and that happened a couple of months ago. And I always ask the person, why do you want to do this? And if their answer is kind of based in activism, I often question them a lot more. What I've learned after many years of sitting up here and not looking for other offices, it's incredibly liberating to not have that interest and to actually focus on what you've been elected to do. One of the things I noticed is there's an important place for different roles in all of these topics. And there's a professional in this room, Julie Womack. When she speaks, I listen. She has a very different role than I have, but I want to hear what she's got to talk about. And all of us in here would agree, Julie, you are an activist at heart. You're passionate about topics, and you're compelling, and you use the gifts you've been given to convey your message. And then for the students, that energy is critical for our civic process. And as Mr. Cooper said, we encourage you to let your voice be heard, and we encourage that. One of the things that I have always thought was important is that we as a school board stayed away from what I'll call ornamental resolutions. And that's not because we want to hide from the issue. That's because I view ornamental resolutions as hiding from the issue. You see, a lot of your government people that have been elected, once they do that resolution, they can say, hey, we did our job. Well, I've never viewed that to be our job. Our job is not to do that. I hope that we can be kind of gauged on our track record, what we actually do and not what we say, and that we can split the two roles in a productive way. I mentioned to some of the others that I remember being asked to have a resolution against the Iraq War in 2003 when the bombs were flying. We've had kind of national organizations reach out about comments about Ukraine more recently. All the way along the line, those issues, that's a go-to thing. Can you do a resolution? Organizations do that. And we've never done a resolution other than for a few bond issues that we were told you have to, otherwise they won't allow you to float the bonds. So that's been our track record for so long, and now we come to this issue, and I ask you to judge us on our actions and the culture that we create, and not as much on the words that we might choose to say. And as Jonathan also mentioned, this is the point where Connie said, wow, Kevin, you haven't said much tonight. As Jonathan also said, Mr. Cooper so eloquently, we stay heavily engaged in the legislative process. And when you take a stand early in a legislative process, like this, in a resolution, you find over the years of experience that you're not invited to the table. You've already spoken. We know where you stand. You can't be compelling. So when we see something as mundane as a budget bill come up, the first issue of a budget bill, and we see, my gosh, we're going to lose $100 million if this thing passes. Our effort is not to go do a resolution against that bill. It's to dig in and connect with people on both sides of that issue and move it the direction that we think is in the best interest of this community. And so I want you to judge us on how we do that, the kind of culture that you feel here in the building, how you feel accepted. And while I know some of the language in here is pretty chilling for some, I want you to know that I hope you felt support in this room tonight. I hope you feel support of your teachers and your administrators and your board here as well as we go forward and we do dig in and monitor this and work with it as it goes along. So thanks for everybody's words tonight. I appreciate it. And we'll see what transpires. Thank you.
Very good. Ian, green tie, Mason guy?
So, first of all, to, address our students who had perfect ACT scores, congratulations. I think sometimes we don't want them to dim their light and their excellence, but we also want to put emphasis on the kids who didn't take the ACT and don't plan to go to college after high school graduation, pursue the military trade. So we didn't celebrate you today, but know that we see you and we care about you and we're proud of your accomplishments. So I did want to say that. To Kevin's point, we hear you, our students. We hear you, the community. Ornamental resolution is a great word because impactful. What happened today in this space was impactful. It impacted me personally, hearing each and every one of you speak, but more so that this room was filled with people who love and support you. I love and support you. What you've learned to do here should travel to Columbus, where the people who will ultimately amend and vote on this bill will decide its fate. We support you in that. We support you advocating for the education you want to have. We support you advocating for the identities that you have. I share marginalized identities with you. And so I can empathize with having something said that makes you feel less than, makes you feel like you're not wanted in a public space. I mentioned in an interview in February that what's sort of awe-inspiring for me is that there was a time when I couldn't sit here, right? There was a time when I would not be allowed to sit in this room, and yet I'm here. And that was through tireless work for many people who did the things that you guys have done today. So know that what you're doing and what you will continue to do is impactful. I know that you want us to do a resolution. What I want you guys to do is don't stop, don't quit. If we don't, keep going, right? It's not an endpoint. It doesn't keep you from actually being an effective advocate for the world you want to see. So really proud of everyone that showed up and supported the students and the community expressing their desires. We're coming to, it was great to see everybody dressed up for prom. I try to stay off social media, but to see all you guys having that moment for the second year in a row means that, we've trusted the superintendent and treasurer and the staff to make sure that you guys can continue to have those moments. So I was really proud to be able to see that we were able to do that. And as we look forward to the end of the year and graduation, I'm excited to participate in that for the first time. Hand some of you great kids your diplomas and take pictures and have fun there. So looking forward to this sort of final push to the year.
Very good. Charles?
I want to just make a quick public acknowledgement. I know we said Todd's not here tonight. We're also missing Tanya McCall, and we are all thinking of her, praying for her and her family with the passing of her husband, and know that her presence is greatly missed here, but look forward to her returning soon enough. And know she's following along with the work of the district in the meantime, especially in this busy season of hiring and prospecting and filling positions for next year. So I wish Tanya and her family the best. I don't have a whole lot to add from what Kevin and Connie and Ian and Jonathan have already said. I would really encourage those that came tonight to follow through with their passion to see change and see House Bill 616, whatever the outcome may be, amended, rescinded, what have you, by pursuing it with our state representative, our candidates for state representative, and the General Assembly in Columbus. There's a sort of just a psychological or biological effect of, coming to that podium or any podium or talking to somebody. You feel like you get this kind of catharsis of getting this out in the public. Don't let that be the end of what your message is and your action is, because as we've alluded to, the place where this action is most impactful is in Columbus. And in the interim, I fully expect that we will still hear from everybody on this going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if this is only the first of more meetings like this, and I expect that we'll hear from other folks in the community that might not share the opinion of the folks that we heard from tonight. And I hope that as you are walking the hallways, I hope that as you are in the community, that if you do get the chance to talk with somebody that doesn't share the perspective that you have, that you'll take the opportunity to, engage in discussion over, what about the bill concerns you? What about the bill, perhaps they support? And see if there's any common ground there between the two of you. And if you don't feel that there's any, then, so be it. But when we talk about our three big rocks and our pillars here in Mason, our culture, our inclusive excellence, our personalized learning, we are committed to that. And like Kevin said, I would hope that we be judged on the track record, the impact that we're feeling in the buildings and in our classrooms, and that any stories, anything that doesn't align with that culture that you're actually experiencing, we do want to address that. We do want to hear about that. But as far as the ornamental nature of the actions that we take, that's different matter. And by the way, 3 minutes flies by when you're up at that podium. I get it. And shout out, kudos to all of you that this was the first time coming here tonight. It's a lot of pressure, even when you are in a room that you feel like you're fully supported. This is a glaring hot spotlight. So kudos to you all. With that being said, all of us are elected to represent you. We're elected to hear from you. All of our phone numbers, except maybe one or two, are on the website. Our emails are on the website. We're available to talk.
It's my wife's.
If you have other, we got to fix that one. So if you do want to reach out and have additional conversation beyond 3 minutes, that podium is just one channel, one avenue of communication that we offer. There's others, and encourage you to take advantage of them.
Good, thank you.
Quick shout out, District Art Show this week. Yes. We forgot to say that. Please.
Oh, yeah.
And the musical.
And the musical.
And, yeah, we've
Friday,
got
Saturday,
Little
6 to
Mermaid.
Say that louder so everybody can hear it.
It's
Dr.
Friday
Cooper.
and Saturday, 6 to 9, and you're right. Do come out, bring friends.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's amazing. And the musical.
Yes.
Excellent. Desiree?
Thank you. I just wanted to express my sincere appreciation for you coming out tonight and being brave and standing at that podium. I know that wasn't easy. The articulation that you all expressed was very impressive. The point you were able to make in 3 minutes also. We hear you, And you were very impactful to me as well tonight. It was nice to, like Kevin said, listen and absorb your personal stories and your personal feelings, and just kind of give some insight into, you read a bill and you have an opinion on it, and then you hear a personal story. And that does change, and that is why your voice is so important. And if you go out and you want to change the world, this is your time. This is your generation. You're our future leaders. And I'm so impressed with the knowledge and the skill and the ability to express your opinion. And I know it's not easy. So thank you for coming tonight. I also wanted to congratulate our ACT perfect score 27 students. It still blows my mind. This is my third time of hearing our perfect scores. I'm like, wow, one school, that many people. So I think that lends itself to the amazing education that you're getting, your amazing families that support you and give you the tools you need to learn. And also our mental health and our support systems that are in place. So if you ever not feel like you're being treated equally, if there's any concerns, there's so many avenues for you to share that and report that and gain help and knowledge and assistance in any way we can. And like Charles said, we want you to use your voices and let us know if there's anything that ever makes you feel not welcome here as a student, because that is our goal. Thank you.
Excellent. I was really touched tonight by several things. One, of course, was the ACT Achieving Perfect Score students. It highlighted, with the Mason moments, it highlighted the opportunities that we have in Mason, how fortunate we are, and how our students are embracing those opportunities. The opportunity that we have, as Ian touched on, there are more options for kids besides the traditional four-year college plan, and I love to see this district focus on that and rein in some opportunities for kids who feel like that may not be for them. I also had the pleasure this week of meeting you, Andrew, and you, Kaia. I was very impressed by what well-rounded individuals that you are. I have no question about whether you will be successful in your future or not. And as a Mason board member, these are the reasons I do the job. One of the most difficult things for me tonight was to hear expressions of pain of people while they are within our walls. And that's touching. You can agree or disagree on issues and positions and how to handle something, but one human pain to another, we should all be sensitive to that. And as Desiree and Ian touched on again, I'm very proud that this district has chosen to focus on mental health and provide, again, opportunities to students with different needs to feel supported. This is your school, and regardless of what your strengths, your weaknesses are, what your opinions are, and who you want to be as an individual, we want to help you get there. Every student here deserves an appropriate equal education, and that's the goal of this board. And it was so enjoyable to see our students in particular tonight function within their element and show us what they've got. I also want to highlight the group that works on prom every year. It is a serious, deliberate effort that makes that a safe night every year, and another one racked up, and we're very, very grateful for that. On the House Bill 616 issue, Andrew, you were very astute in your question earlier to us this week. Hey, we see that there may be some misunderstandings, misinformation, and people asking for things that may not be appropriate or will work. We had a great conversation, and I think it's important for people to know, again, as Charles touched on tonight, that that vote does take place in Columbus. And through people like you, people in Columbus will know what their constituency needs and wants from them. So again, thank you for being a part of your world, because you're going to be in control of it one day, this new generation. And like, I believe it was Susan said, they're going to take care of us.
Sure hope so.
Me too. With that, tonight I will ask for a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
And
All in favor?
John?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.